Good morning, Miss Munoz. Okay. All right, so I see a lot of you have the mean. Some just fill out the table and you have not finished. I'll give you a couple more minutes. It's okay if you're not there yet, okay? So in this case, for the bell ringer, we just look, we count the coins. We have the numbers. So stack number 1, I have 5 coins. Stack 2, I have 4. And I just record that. So I'm seeing that you guys are still recording. So that's fine. I'll wait. All right, so to find the mean, what I would do is that I find the total, I add the number in the table, or on the top they tell you I have 45, divide by 9 stacks, that give me 5. So question on the mean. Okay. The next one is the median. All right, so Alfonso told me the median is the number in the middle. So can I just look at the table and tell you the median by looking at the middle number, or should I do something before I can look at the middle number? Anyone remember? Can you share with us? Especially for the one who don't remember, that would be helpful for all of us. So what is the median? You want to put, thank you, Alfonso. We put them in order from smallest to greatest. Okay, so that's good. So I'm going to start with the smallest, which is 2. And then I have 3, 4, 5. I have 3, 5. Okay. Then I have 6. I have 7, 8, and 9. 2, 4, 6. Did I have some extra number? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I have one extra number. What number? Oh, I don't have 9. There shouldn't be any 9. Yes. Okay. So to find the median, we will organize them from the least to the greatest. So I'm just counting for the middle number. What I would do, I'm just cross this out until I get to the number in the middle, which is 5. So the median is 5. And I saw about half of you got that. Half of you got the average, the mean, and the mode. The mean, the median, and the mode correct. Some make a mistake. That's why I ask questions. So the median is the number in the middle. Now the mode, we'll do the last one, which is the mode. Anyone remember what is the mode? If we look at our data, we look at these numbers, what is the mode? We know the median number is the number in the middle. The mode is what? If you don't remember, I'm going to ask you to put in the chat or unmute and say, I don't remember. That would help me to spend some extra time on it, or it's okay, move forward. You don't remember? Okay. So the mode is the number, if you look in this data list, you see a bunch of numbers. The mode is the one have the most occurring numbers. That's the one that's repeated more than any other number. So in this case, if we look at the number that we have, the number that we see the most is 5. So the most occurring number, or the one that's repeated the most, the mode, that is what we got is the mode. So in this case, the mode is 5. So I'm looking here, 5 is the one that's happened the most in here. Can we have more than one mode? Yes. Sometimes if I add to my list, I may have some number occur the same times. The one that we've been, based on the work that we done last week, the mode, another way you can look at it is the one that has the highest frequency. Whoops. Has the highest frequency. Remember the frequency that we talked about last week? When we look at the table, when the one that you count and you have the highest number, that is the most. So another way that we can look at it, the mode is the one with the highest frequency. So if I'm giving you the frequency table, you look for the one, if you look in the frequency column, you say that's the one with the highest values, okay? So that's average, median, and mode. Average is the mean. We find the total. We divide by how many that we have. The median, we organize them from least to greatest and find the middle number. The mode is the one with the highest frequency or the most occurring number in that data list. Can we have more than one mode? Yes. Can we have more than one average? No. Can we have more than one median? No. Okay. So mode is the only thing that you can have more than one number. Median and average, no. You can only have one average, one median for that data set. So if any of you was like, Miss Nguyen, I can't remember everything you said, Miss Munyo has been typing in the chat for you if you need to copy it down. Also, if you remember, I do record the lesson, so we have to go back, look at the video, then you totally can do that. So there's a couple options for you to go back, just in case that you miss anything that I said, okay? So question for me so far on this one. Okay. What we're gonna do today is that we're gonna look at dot plot and line plots. That is, you probably have seen them. You may not remember. You may or may not remember. Some of you like, oh, okay, I remember. And some were like, I'm not sure. Okay. For today, we just look at more graphs. Last week, we looked at frequency histogram, which is a bar graph, but there's no space in between. So it is like a bar graph, but no space in between. Then we look at pie chart. We look at those. So for today, we look at line plot, dot plot. And then the next time I see you, which is on Friday, we'll look at stems and leaf plot, okay? All right, so this is based on, if this is given to you, all right, think of the stack. So this is something before we graph this one. So we're gonna look at the dot plot. The name itself is a dot plot. It's pretty much you will use the dot to plot it. So that's what it's saying. So dot plot, so I'm look over here, I have my number line is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm gonna copy that over. And thank you for those who share with me, said that Miss Nguyen, I'm not in Pear Deck because I'm doing it on a piece of paper. So don't call out my name. That is fine. Just let me know. So I'm not gonna panic. If I look in Pear Deck and I don't see you do anything. All right. If you need the link, let us know. What we're gonna do right now is this is before we record and we plot this one. I want you to understand this one. We count the stack. Okay. So 2 mean number of coins. This one is the number of coins. The values is number of coins. So for this one, you have 2 coins. And then what we're going to do is count how many stack of 2 coins that we have. In this case, we have 1 stack because there's only 1 stack with 2 coins. So I'm using the dot. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay. So there's 1 dot because there's only 1 stack. So this is something that I want you to kind of like, because it's kind of confusing because the coins and you're like, shouldn't there be 2 dots? No, there's only 1 dot because we count in the stacks. So each dot represent 1 stack. So 1 dot represent 1 stack. Okay. So 1 dot represent 1 stack. So for this one, you have the 2 coins, but you have only 1 stack of 2 coins. Now, if you want to guess for the next one, how many dots should I use for the 3? So think about the stacks. So now for this stack has 3 coins, but I'm looking for the dot represent 1 stack. So how many stack for that? 1 stack, yes. So I'm going to have 1 dot. All right. So that is something you want to be careful when we look at this data. So that's good. Thank you. All right, the next one, I'm going to look at 4. How many stack? I'm looking for the stack. So I have only one stack, so that's going to be 1 dot. Okay. All right. For those was share with me in the chat. Thank you. All right. Appreciate that. For 5, how many dots should I use for 5? If you're going to look in the coins, how many dots? 3. Thank you, Elena. 1, 2, 3. Because I have 3 stack. 1, 2, 3 stack, right? Okay. Thank you, Winston. Now I'm looking the next one. So for the 6, I only have 1 stack. So that's 1 dot. 1 and 1. Is this okay to not have any dot on some of your number? Yes, totally. We can skip those. If you don't have a stack, don't try to make up the dot, right? So in this problem, if we look at this one, the one has happened whoops. If I look over here, the one with the highest, the one with the most dot, this is we call the mode, right? Because this one had the most. So that's the mode. Okay. So 1 dot represents the stack. So when you answer the question, make sure that you look for the instruction and it will tell you exactly what they are. So this is a dot plot. Questions? How do we feel about this? I'm going to use the same thing, but if it's the next one, we look at line plot. Line plot is the same as the dot plot. The only thing different for the line plot, instead of use the dot, we use the X to represent instead. So I'm doing the same information, but instead of the dot, for the line plot, I will use the X to represent it. So this will be 3X. This will be 1X, 1X, and 1X. So for the line plot, it's the same. You're going to plot the same way that you would plot the dot plot, but instead of use the dot, I'm using the X. That's the only thing different. So make sure you read the instruction carefully. If they ask you to find the dot plot, make sure you use the dot. If they ask you to line plot, use the X. That's all. Question for me on line plot and dot plot for this data set. We'll look at a few more, but right now, questions for me. Anything that's bothering you, let me know before I move on to the next example. So again, the next slide, you can find the slide in chapter 2. And this lesson is 1.5, more graphs. So you want to go back to this PowerPoint after we end the lesson. You want to go back. That is a PowerPoint that you can go back. So again, dot plot, we use the dot. Line plot, we use the X. It's represent the same thing. It's saying the same thing. It's just different symbol, right? Okay, so what we're going to do right now is that I'm going to need some data from you. So I'm going to ask you to share in the chat, or you unmute and share with us. Can you tell me the number of pets that you have? For me, I don't have any, so I'm going to put in 0. Okay, we have another 0. 1, 2, and then 1. We have another 1. What do you guys have? What type of pet do you have? Anyone else have pets? How many that you have? You got a fish? Okay. So that would be count as 1, Okay, a lot of you got fish.
I have 4. I'm sorry. I can't make type.
4, so all right, so I'm gonna change this to 4. Okay, thank you.
Wait, no, I don't know if that one's mine.
Oh, then I'll put 1 right here and I'll put that 4 yours.
Okay.
So what do you have? 4 what?
I have 3 dogs and a lizard.
Wow, 3 dogs. You're the one who mainly walk them in the winter?
No, we have a yard, so we let them out.
Oh, okay. Cool. Thank you. Anyone else have some sort of pet? I'm sure we have 2, 4, 6, 8, only 8 students. We have more than 8 students in here. Do you mind to share? If you don't have one, then put 0. It's okay, right? I just want to collect the data. That's all I need. 2 dogs? Cool. Thank you, Miss Munoz. Anyone else? Come on, just a number you can share if you're still here. Put it in the chat. It's not that hard. Okay, we have 1.
Okay, let me know if there's anything else I can help you with.
Whoops. What is that? If you don't have pets, we can put in 0. All right, 2. Have 0. All right, another person share 1. Thank you. 0. Thank you. Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, Aston. Cool. So the most we have in here is 4 and the lowest is 0. So what we're going to do, we're going to do line plot. Okay, so be careful. I'm looking at line plots. So to label this, it's going to be number of pets. That is the number line that is a number that I'm going to use in the number line. So it goes from 0 all the way to 4. So I can start with this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So now to do the line plot, keep in mind the line plot, we're not going to use the dot. We use the x. So I'm going to do the first one is 0. So that's 1x. So basically, this is one of the Khan Academy assignment that you're going to work on today, is that there will be a data list, and then you just have to click, depend on how many number that you have there. So I have another 0, so I'm going to have another x, 4, 2, there's 1, there's another 1, I have another 1, then I have 2, I have another 1 up here, then I have 2, then I have 0. Okay, I have to erase this part because I need another x, and then I have another 0. Okay, so I'm going to erase the top. So this will be my line plot. Okay, so I'm just basically remember how you do the tally mark on the frequency table? This is the same idea. Instead of counting the number and do the tally in that column, now I'm using the dot or the x and put in the number line. So pretty much you're saying the same thing, just different ways to represent it. So any question for me on line plot? Numbers of pets. So here's a question for you. I'm going to ask you to type in the chat. Which one is the mode? I'm asking you to find the mode. What is the mode if you look at this graph? Okay. 1 pet, right? 1 pet is the mode. Yes, thank you. Why? Because that's the most of you respond to me, and it said is 1. Okay. So any question for me? Any question in here? All right, this is the one that I'm going to call as the check-in. That is mean either you're going to email it to me the work, or I will look at your product and give you credits. So this is the one that I expect you to do, okay? Either if you want to do it on a piece of paper, then do so on a piece of paper and email that to me. If you're gonna do it on product, then I will look at it and give you credit. So go ahead and turn to product. You should be on slide 9. So you can't not see my screen? Okay, let me try to connect again. Can you guys see my screen? Because all right, for the one who, if you cannot see my screen, do you mind to log out and come back in to see if that helped? If not, you don't have to, actually you don't need to see my screen. Go to product. There's a link that I sent you, right? We should be on slide 9, and I want you to grab this one. So it's the same idea. Remember the notes that I just used, the class data, right? That's the one that we used. And now this is somebody else's data, and I want you to grab this. So go ahead and do this one, and I'm checking the work right now. So this will be a gray, right? So I'm gonna expect you to do it. If you don't do it, it's gonna be, I can't give you credit. So this is a check-in point you wanna see. I need to grab my notebook, so I will be right back. If you're not sure what to do and you're like, I'm still confused, I don't know what to do, there's 2 options. You can either put in the chat, or if you want to, you can put in product so I know that you need help, and I will give you feedback, okay? So let me know. And right now I'm just recording the one who's do the work, so it's okay. If you make a mistake, no problem. It's okay, I want to see that. Okay, thank you. For this one is the line plot, so you don't use the dot, okay? I saw some of you use a dot. I'm not going to take out points right now. I won't. But if it's a summative, then I will for sure will take out points. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to the instruction. So it should be the X, not the dot. So be careful, okay? So don't use the dot, use the X. If you already use a dot, it's okay. I'm not gonna ask, don't change it now. It's okay, as long as you count in the number correctly, then that is fine. But if you already did it, it's okay. If you need help, let me know. I'm just recording names right now, so it's okay if it's not correct, like I said. I saw some of you did not put a 0 on the number line. Be careful because this one is a number of pets and 0 is part of the data. So a lot of you missed that. Okay. All right, some of you start. If you need help, put a question mark so I know. This is new for some of you. Okay, cool. All right, so let's look on the screen. And for those who get stuck, I just finished recording who did the work. So right now, let's go back to the screen. If you need help and you're not sure what to do, or you did it and you just want to check in. So here's the thing. How do I know what number I'm going to use? Look over here. I have the low. The minimum is going to go from minimum to maximum, right? In this case, the minimum is 0. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the highest would be 5. Okay. Now in this one, it's asking to do a line plot. Whoops. A line plot, that means I'm not going to use a dot. I should use the X, right? So I'm going to use the first one is 2. So 1, there's 1, there's another 1. So that's how I would do. I'm counting. So think of this like the tally mark that you did for the frequency table. You kind of count how many they are. So for the 0, there's 1 0. So I'm going to make 1x. For the 4, there's 1 4. Okay. There's another 1. Then I'll make another x. There's a 2. There's a 0. There's a 2. So I'll make another x. There are 2 zeros, so I'm going to make 2x. There's 1, make 1x. There's another 1. There's 1, 2. There's a 4. There's a 5. There are 2 zeros, so I'm going to make 2x. So for in this case, this is the number of pets. All right, so basically this is the list of numbers. Think of the frequency table that you did. This is the list of number. What you do is you look at each category and then you count how many of those is actually occurring. So for the 0 pet, I'm counting how many 0. That would be how many x. I saw some of you what you do as you work and I look through Pear Deck. What I noticed is you actually do one number at the time. So you actually count how many 0 and then you make exactly how many x and then you move on to 1. That is okay too. You don't have to do what I do, but make sure that you don't miscount. So you have it. Question again, for those like, I don't know, I have a question. Is this better for you or you still need another example? Can you please share that with me? Because I saw like a couple of you was like, I'm not sure, I have questions, I don't know. So please let me know, is this helped or no? Do we need another example? All right, if you're not, it's okay, you can ask me later. It's fine. There are 7 0. Maybe, did I miscount? Let's count again. It could be me miscount. So 1, 2, 3, 4, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I do 7? So 6. 6, 0, right? Yes. So I miscount. Yes. Thank you, Angel. So maybe I make the 0 twice. Okay. All right. Let's look. So what we're going to do, if you don't ask questions, I'm going to move on to the next one where a graph is given to us. But what we want to do is that we're going to use the graph to answer questions. So instead of the table, the list of data, you will see the number, the dot plot or the line plot, and we're going to answer questions. There's a couple of things that you should be able to look at if the graph is given to you. Okay, this is about shoe size. So that's size 6, size 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, and 10. So we're going to label a couple of things. The first one is the gap. The gap is the one that when you have a value that's skipped. So look over here for 7, you don't have any dot. That's why it's a gap, because you skipped that number. So something that you skipped. Okay, gap means something missing. Right? You're missing the values there. There's nothing there. You skip that values. That's a gap. Okay. Peak. Before I label that, can anyone want to kind of guess? I have 2 more arrows. Which arrow would be the peak and which arrow would be the cluster? You have to guess. Let's say this arrow is A and this arrow is B. Anyone want to guess? Which arrow is represent the peak and which one represent the cluster? If you have to guess, it's okay. It's not sure? But think about peak. Peak is the highest one, right? The top of something. So if you look at between the arrow A and arrow B, which one seems to be higher, A or B? Okay, so I have a couple of you say A and B. So B is this one, if it's pointing right here, and A is pointing to this stack. Okay, so peak is the highest values. So I'm looking here, the highest one. All right, thank you, Winston and Alfonso, for responding. The peak is actually A, is this one right here. Because this one is the one with the highest, this is the tallest graph, right? You have the most points. So the peak, or the other one that we just talked about this earlier, is the most. It's happened the most. That's the peak. Okay. Cluster basically is the values around the peak. So you have the peak and you have something around this. So for this one, it's the group. So it's the group around the peak. So how we know which one is a cluster? We always circle the cluster around the peak. Okay? The peak is the highest one, or the one that we talked about earlier, which is the mode. The gap is the one that's skipped in between. Okay? You want to take a picture, you want to record this, do so. I'll give you like a minute. If you want to jot this down, do so. What we're going to do next is now we just look at the graph. I want you to be able to identify cluster, peak, and gap. All right. All right, so what we're going to do right now, I'm going to do, for this one, we're going to skip this one for now. Okay, let's look at this graph. If this graph is given to you, right? What we want to do is we want to identify the gap, the peak, and the cluster. So the gap is right here. If you look over here, this is a gap. The reason that is a gap because number 17 is skipped. There's nothing in there. There's no dot. So that's why that is a gap. Now, the cluster is the one that's around the peak. In this case, I know the peak, which is number 23. Peak is the one with the highest, right? So the cluster is the one that around it. So that would be cluster. So cluster is the group around the peak. The peak is the one with the highest. Can you have more than one peak? Yes, because the mode, sometimes some number happen to occur at the same amount of times, okay? So 23 is a peak. 17, that's part is where you have the gap because there's nothing. Cluster is the group around the peak. Question for me on this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can say 22 to 24, yeah. Just like a group around it, yes. If I have, sometimes I have people circle even further to like 25, which is fine. Okay, as long as you circle the group around it, it is fine. All right, couple things. So now what we're gonna do is we kind of go backward a little bit if I give you the graph and we're gonna answer questions. So the title is a length. That is tell you how long a snake is. So we go from 15 to 28. In this case, I don't exactly know the unit. I don't know it's in inches, feet, centimeter, meter. I don't really know. They're not telling me. But I know the length go from 15 to 28. So that's the length. So I'm going to highlight that. Okay, that's how long a snake is. Now for each dot, they tell you the dot represent one snake. So I'm going to put over here one dot represent one snake. Right? Okay. So for the one with 15, the length is 15, I have two snakes. For the one have 16, they're not unit long, is have one snake, right? Then we have 18, I have two snakes. The one with 19 unit long, I have two snakes. So each dot represent one snake. So I'm going to ask you to answer this question. How many snakes does the data represent? And how do you know? What will you do? I haven't gone over, but if I tell you a dot represents a snake, and the number on the bottom tell you how long a snake is, if I'm asking you the question, how many snakes? What will you do to find the snake? How many in this data? What will you do? Another way you can respond to me if you don't put it in the chat, what you can do is go ahead and put it in paired out. Okay? Answer question A for me. We're going to skip B and D. Okay? What is the measurement? So when I say what is the measurement, I'm looking for the values. It goes from what values to what values. Okay? So go ahead and do this. Actually, I'm going to check N. It's okay if you make a mistake. Like I said, I don't really worry about you making a mistake, but I just want to check in to see if you do the work. All right? So go ahead and do in paired act. If you do in paper, make sure you share that with me later. So go ahead and answer question A and C. And I'm going to check in you all work right now. Okay.
What is C actually asking? Like, what does it mean by like the measurement?
The measurement is goes from what values to what values. So in this case, you have the only problem is I got really angry. I look at this. They're not telling me the unit. Like, is this centimeter? Is this meter? Is this feet? I don't know. So I'm just gonna say from this number to this number. That's all I can say. Some of you are awesome. You did above and beyond. You answer questions B and D as well. That is awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's correct though. And so like one of the thing was how could you collect this data? I have some of you. I did not ask you to do it, but I'm just reading from what I see. Some of you say you by looking at the snake and actually measure the snake to get the data, right? And then this part D, write a statistical questions. And some of you was like, the statistical question could be, what is the mode? What does it mean? What is the median? That's good. That is exactly what you would answer for B and D. So that's good. Right, so seems so far I see the answer for part A. All of you tell me is 21. And then I have a couple you tell me by adding all the dots. Yep, that is correct. We add all the dots together. What is the measurement? Is go from 15 to 28. Like I said, I don't know, is it centimeter or meters? I'm just going to say from 15 to 28. So that is good. That is good. Okay, we have about 2 minutes left. There are 2 Khan Academy assignments.